You don't believe in democracy?
I don't believe in democracy.
What are you doing here at a televised debate? This is democracy, not what a debate and disagreement.
Because it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean upholding free speech after we win. Again, I mentioned
the only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
Well, that is refreshingly honest, isn't it? And the audacity is almost impressive. A young conservative named Connor Estelle just admitted, on camera, to Applause, that he's using democracy as a weapon to destroy democracy. That free speech is merely a tool to be discarded once his side wins.
It is the means to support an end.
This is a man so settled in his extremism, so confident in his ideology claiming victory, that he's laying out the entire roadmap for free. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that.
Why hello, my fellow apes. I hope you are well. When Mehdi Hasan agreed to appear on Jubilee Surrounded series, a format known for its viral confrontations and shocking moments, even he couldn't anticipate what was about to unfold. See, we often hear warnings about the rise of extremism, about how democracy is under threat, about the dangers of platforming certain voices, and frequently these warnings get dismissed as hyperbole, as liberal whining, as crying wolf. Where are the supposed fascists, the critics ask? You're just calling everyone who disagrees with you a Nazi. Well, Connor Estelle just answered that question, and not through the usual dog whistles or coded language, but with citations from Nazi legal theorists.
Carl Schmitt makes this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right?
Carl Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah. A crush on a mass-murdering Spanish dictator.
I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly.
And a step-by-step explanation of how to transform America into a theocratic ethno-state.
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that state.
And then no more votes afterwards.
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white, and should stay that way.
So grab a stiff coffee as we see how Connor's descent unfolds, admission by admission, fallacy by fallacy, until we arrive at the chilling truth that he's so eager to share. They're using our tolerance to build their intolerance, our rulebook to end the game, and they're betting that we won't stop them in time.
My next claim is that Donald Trump is defying the Constitution.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Mehdi, lovely to meet you.
So I would say that with Trump being anti-Constitution, I don't really care, to be quite frankly.
Okay.
Because in regards to the Constitution is a document that should seek to serve us. Yes. And when it fails to seek to serve us, that can be amended. Laws can be changed.
Well, that was a rather bold opening. Mehdi arrives with a charge designed to provoke denial, maybe a fake news quip, maybe some half-hearted defense of Trump's supposed fidelity to the Constitution.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know.
Instead, Connor embraces it. He says, I don't care.
I don't really care, to be quite frankly.
Okay.
So, no rebuttal or appeal to context, just immediate indifference. It's like confronting someone with theft and hearing, so what? Property is just a social construct. Already, then, Mehdi could simply have closed his notebook and walked away. Case closed. Opponent confessed. But he doesn't, because Mehdi knows exactly what he's looking at. He smells blood in the water. The man across from him just admitted to constitutional contempt on camera, and, if given enough rope, he'll strangle his own credibility. So, Mehdi lets him keep talking. And Connor obliges. But before we get to that, recently I started watching Lost, a phenomenal show that's been out for years but somehow slipped past me. I binged my way to the end of season 2 only to find that it had vanished from Netflix. Frustrated, I nearly paid for the entire series elsewhere, but then I remembered that I have private internet access. With a quick switch of my location to the United States, Lost was, well, no longer lost. But streaming benefits are really just the beginning. What private internet access actually does is create an encrypted tunnel for your internet connection, hiding your IP address from everyone, hackers on public Wi-Fi, your internet service provider, even government surveillance, which has become quite annoying in the UK.
Facial recognition and credit card checks are now required for some adult sites.
So at coffee shops, airports, hotels, anywhere you connect, your passwords, browsing history, and personal data stay completely protected. And here's what sets private internet access apart from other VPNs. They are the world's most transparent provider. Their no-log policy has been proven in actual court cases multiple times and independently audited by Deloitte. They literally cannot hand over your data because they don't store it. With servers in 91 countries and all 50 US states, you can browse from anywhere. Plus, they're one of the few VPNs that actually support person-to-person file sharing. The best part is that one subscription protects unlimited devices. I've got it on my phone, laptop, tablet, smart TV. My whole family is covered with just one account. Right now, they're offering my viewers an incredible deal. 83% off, bringing it down to just $2.03 per month. And you get 4 months completely free. Plus, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's completely risk-free to try. With over 30 million downloads and 24/7 support, they've earned their reputation. Go to piavpn.com/rationalityrules to get 83% off private internet access with 4 months free. Thanks.
The Constitution is a document that should seek to serve us. Yes. And when it fails to seek to serve us, that can be amended. Laws can be changed.
Notice the sleight of hand here. Connor reframes the Constitution not as a principled limit on government, but as a tool, a document that should seek to serve us.
It's a document that should seek to serve us.
That us is doing the trick. It sounds inclusive, patriotic even, but the audience doesn't know yet what he means by it. Spoiler, us isn't the American people. Later, he spells it out. It means far-right conservatives, majority white. So the Constitution becomes clay, shaped to serve his faction, his tribe, his us. It's worth noting that this is how authoritarian rhetoric smuggles itself in under the cover of common sense. Dress it up as pragmatism, laws can change, documents can adapt.
And when it fails to seek to serve us, that can be amended, laws can be changed.
And it feels reasonable. But once you've accepted that the Constitution should only serve us, the next question writes itself. Who belongs in us? And who doesn't?
And quite frankly, the fact is, we're defending things in this country that shouldn't be defended. The First Amendment should not defend pornography and making children and women be victimized. Making women and children be victimized as a result of that. I think things like blasphemy shouldn't be allowed per the First Amendment.
Here is the reveal. Connor doesn't want the Constitution pliable in theory, he has very specific targets in mind. First, pornography, invoking the spectre of women and children being victimized as emotional bait.
And making children and women be victimized.
It's an extremely common and effective move. Take a genuine concern, exploitation, and weaponize it to justify censorship. Fascists have always done this. The Nazis outlawed degenerate art to protect German families. Stalin banned literature deemed anti-Soviet. Franco censored films and books to preserve Spanish morality. Different century, same playbook. As for the concern of obscenity, the Supreme Court already ruled in Miller versus California, 1973, that it isn't protected by the First Amendment. And the concern of child pornography has been explicitly unprotected since New York versus Ferber, 1982. In other words, the law already agrees that exploitation isn't covered. So what's he really after? Not banning crimes against children, those are already banned, but something far more broader. The power to silence dissent under the banner of protection.
I think things like blasphemy shouldn't be allowed per the First Amendment.
This is Connor's real prize, blasphemy laws. You see, America discarded them almost 2 centuries ago. The last man jailed for blasphemy, Neeland, went to prison in 1838 for daring to advocate for women's rights and racial equality. I know, what a horror. A century later, in 1952, the Supreme Court slammed the door shut on blasphemy laws altogether, expressing that the state has no legitimate interest in protecting any or all religions from views distasteful to them. And yet here's Connor, ready to drag the country back to pre-Civil War theocracy. A sad irony of note is that the Founding Fathers saw this coming. They'd watched Europe drown in religious bloodshed, Catholics against Protestants, sex-crushing sects. They knew that if you give the state power to defend God, it quickly becomes a weapon for whichever group can grab the pulpit. That's why they built a wall between church and state. Not because they hated religion, but because they knew what happened when religion and power fused. Connor is demanding that the US knock down that wall. Underneath all of this righteous grandstanding about protecting women and children,
making women and children be victimized as a result of that,
lurks a very old logical trick, the slippery slope fallacy, when someone argues that allowing one event will inevitably trigger a chain of negative events without evidence. For instance, claiming that legalizing gay marriage will lead to people marrying their pets. Connor is doing the same. He's claiming that protecting free speech inevitably leads to victimization, as if letting someone sell Playboy is the first domino in child exploitation. No evidence, no causal chain, it's just good old-fashioned fear-mongering.
I think that, quite frankly, there are a lot of legal processes that are enabling criminals and bad people to fully enact their will in this country in the name of the Constitution or following the Constitution. So, quite frankly, if Trump is anti-Constitution, good, and I think he should go further.
So, this is
quite the escalation. A few moments ago, Connor was indifferent to constitutional violations. Now, he's applauding them, cheering Trump's contempt for the document, urging him to go further.
And I think he should go further.
Absorb the vagueness in his language. Criminals and bad people.
There are a lot of legal processes that are enabling criminals and bad people.
Who are they? Murderers? Rapists? Protestants? Journalists? Once you've accepted that bad people don't deserve constitutional protections, the list of who counts as bad expands to fit your enemies. Today, it's criminals. Tomorrow, it's dissenters. Next week, it's anyone who disagrees.
And I think he should go further.
So, this is
an invitation to accelerate, and beneath the revolutionary swagger sits another fallacy, hasty generalization, when someone draws a sweeping conclusion from a limited set of examples. For example, meeting two rude French tourists and deciding that all French people are insufferable. Connor points to examples where legal protections shield the guilty and concludes the entire constitutional framework is broken.
Quite frankly, if Trump is anti-Constitution, good.
It's sloppy reasoning, sure, but it sounds righteous when delivered with conviction. Talking of which, look at the reaction from the audience. Applause. Not for the logic, which is abysmal, but for the posture.
And I think he should go further.
So,
These young conservatives aren't stunned by his call to dismantle the Constitution. They're clapping for it, because, in their eyes, this isn't reckless, it's courage.
And I think he should go further.
So, this is wonderfully revealing of the modern conservative mindset, so I appreciate you spelling it out so openly.
Mehdi is being smart here, framing Connor's extreme views not as fringe, but as representative of modern conservative mindset. By doing this, he underscores how the window of what counts as normal on the right has shifted to the more extreme territory. Now, as to whether or not Connor truly reflects the mainstream is beside the point. Mehdi's move is sharp all the same. He makes Connor's radicalism sound like a standard conservative position. He treats him like a specimen under glass. Wonderfully revealing.
Wonderfully revealing.
And it works, because Connor doesn't realize that he's being dissected. He just keeps talking. Mehdi knows exactly what he's doing, documenting a fascist confession for the world to see.
Just checking, do you support the Second Amendment?
I do.
Okay.
Again, a calculated question from Mehdi. He knows that there's a very high chance that someone who just trashed the Constitution will cling to the Second Amendment.
With Trump being anti-Constitution, I don't really care, to be quite frankly.
Okay.
It's a targeted move to expose hypocrisy, and it works perfectly.
Do you support the Second Amendment?
I do.
Okay.
After dismissing the Constitution as a failed document that shields bad people, Connor clings to the part that arms him, revealing his constitutional cafeteria, rejecting the bits that constrain his selfish desires and clinging to the bits that protect him.
Surprise, I was shocked to hear that. I'm saying that Donald Trump is defying the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. He's thinking of defying the 12th and 22nd Amendments. You're saying you don't care about the Constitution, but actually you do, because you quite like the Second Amendment. You just don't like the bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
whenever
the
it's in your
Second Amendment.
favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mehdi got exactly the response he wanted, hence the dry, "I'm shocked to hear that."
I was shocked to hear that.
When Connor confirmed without hesitation, it allowed Mehdi to set the trap, whenever it's in your favour, and Connor walked straight into it.
Whenever it's in your favour?
Yeah, absolutely.
So by replying, "Yeah, absolutely," he left no room for defenders to spin his words. The hypocrisy was nailed down airtight. And what especially stands out is the shamelessness. Connor doesn't even attempt justification or consistency. Just, "Yeah, absolutely." It's power politics in its purest form. Rules for thee, but not for me. And in this single exchange, Mehdi's claim is vindicated beyond dispute. He began by asserting that Trump defies the Constitution.
Donald Trump is defying the Constitution.
Connor hasn't denied it. He's applauded it, endorsed it, and encouraged him to go further.
And I think he should go further.
Mehdi doesn't merely win the point, he gets his opponent to hand it over with enthusiasm. That's not just a debate victory, it's a confession, caught on camera.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
whenever
the
it's in your
Amendment.
favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not. Because
So you don't
it's the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
The escalation here is instant. Mehdi asks one simple question about Democrats having the same constitutional flexibility.
So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
And within a second, Connor's admitting that he doesn't believe in democracy at all. No hedging, no, well, actually, just no, I don't. Absolutely not.
So you don't believe in democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
The speed of that confession is breathtaking. This isn't someone getting trapped. This is someone who came prepared to say this out loud. And notice how Connor started to say, "because it's a friend-enemy distinction," before Mehdi cut him off.
No, absolutely not. Because
So you don't
it's the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
He was about to explain his whole worldview right there. Not about governance or representation or serving citizens, just friends versus enemies, winners versus losers, us versus them. And it perfectly demonstrates the double standard fallacy, when someone applies different rules to similar situations without any principled justification. It's a referee who only calls foul against one team and explains it by saying it's because he wants that one team to lose. Connor's not even pretending that there's a consistent principle here. His side gets to shred the Constitution, but Democrats have to follow it. Why? Because they're the enemy. Duh.
So you don't believe in democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
So there it is, theocratic authoritarianism laid bare, autocracy delivered without hesitation, and then anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Except, here's the irony. The Catholic Church's official position explicitly supports religious freedom and democratic participation. Vatican II's Dignitatis Humanae endorse these principles. The Pope, Leo XIV, has enthusiastically reaffirmed them, praising the role of the free press, warning against authoritarianism, and urging political leaders to protect democratic freedoms. So yeah, Connor's declaring that the Pope isn't Catholic enough for Catholic autocracy. To get analytical, this is a textbook no true Scotsman fallacy, when someone redefines criteria to exclude inconvenient counterexamples. Imagine claiming no true American likes soccer, then, when shown that millions of American soccer fans exist, responding, well, they're not true Americans. Connor's setting up Catholic teaching as his criterion for leadership.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
But he'll inevitably have to exclude most actual Catholics, including the Vatican itself.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Donald Trump is not Catholic.
Of course, he's not. I completely agree, and that's part of the problem.
Trump? You don't support Trump?
No, I don't. I didn't even vote for him. I wrote in like John Pork or someone. I can't even remember.
Why did you vote if you don't believe in democracy and you want autocracy?
Well, because quite frankly, I voted. I kind of voted just to.
I came with this argument, but I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
yeah, absolutely.
How do we get to an autocracy?
Know what Mehdi's doing here? He came prepared to debate constitutional violations, but he stumbled on something far more valuable: a fascist confessing in real time.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
So he does what any good journalist would do. He abandons his script and follows the story. He even explicitly admits that he's breaking debate protocol because he recognizes that this is a moment too important to waste on talking points about Trump.
I came with this argument, but I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this.
And this isn't just opportunistic, it is brilliant. Mehdi understands that letting the wider audience see Connor's unfiltered extremism is worth more than winning any debate about constitutional compliance. Sometimes, the best way to expose authoritarianism is to give it a microphone and let it reveal itself.
I came with this argument, but I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
yeah, absolutely.
How do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local leaders...
Who is the we, by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far-right conservatives sitting right around
White
me.
people?
Now Mehdi is in full prosecutor mode. He's not letting Connor hide behind vague pronouns and euphemisms. Who is we forces Connor to put names and faces to his autocratic vision.
Who is the we, by the way?
When Connor tries to soften it with far-right conservatives,
quite frankly, these far-right conservatives,
Mehdi cuts straight to what he knows is underneath. White people?
White people?
It's a calculated move, not just to expose Connor's racial agenda, but to fracture the audience. Mehdi knows that there are conservatives in the room who aren't white, and by making Connor say the quiet part out loud, he drives a deliberate wedge between them and the white nationalist on stage. This is divide and conquer in its sharpest form. Isolate the extremist from his potential allies by showing those allies that, in his ideal America, they have no seat at the table. Each follow-up question is stripping away another layer of plausible deniability, ensuring that there is no mask to hide behind later. Though I'm not sure that Connor ever intended to wear one.
White people?
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
So,
well, actually, I have quite...
Some of the people in this room don't make the cut from what I can see visually.
Actually,
this is the clearest articulation yet of a racially exclusionary worldview.
It's a document that should seek to serve us.
The us from earlier now has a face, and it's white. And Mehdi immediately weaponizes this admission.
Some of the people in this room don't make the cut from what I can see visually.
By pointing out that some of the people over there don't make the cut, he's not just making an observation. He's showing the non-white conservatives in the audience that Connor's autocracy has no place for them. It's a perfect strike. Expose the racist, then make sure that his potential allies know that they're on his enemy list. It is beautiful. Connor has to backpedal now.
Some of the people in this room don't make the cut from what I can see visually.
Actually, hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to not be white who do actually have history in this country and have roots in this country. For instance, from the Mexican-American War, we subsumed a lot of territory of people who have far stakes in this country who happen to be Hispanic or what have you. I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white, and should stay that way.
That's quite the clumsy tokenistic retreat, right? The linguistic contortions alone tell you how much this pains him to make that admission. And notice his example of criterion for belonging, the Mexican-American War.
From the Mexican-American War.
So the only minorities Connor acknowledges are those whose land America conquered by force. Not immigrants who built the railroads, not enslaved people who built the economy, just people America defeated in war and absorbed against their will.
I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white, and should stay that way.
And there's the white nationalism, stated plainly. He says traditional demographics like it softens what comes next, but immediately clarifies that his America is about maintaining white dominance. Now, this is a straightforward appeal to tradition fallacy, defending something simply because that's how it's always been. It's like arguing that bloodletting must be good medicine because doctors did it for centuries. By Connor's logic, America should still have slavery. That was traditional for nearly 250 years too. But here's what makes Connor's appeal to tradition even more dishonest. His tradition has a conveniently selective starting point. If he really cared about traditional demographics, he'd be advocating for Native American dominance. They were here for tens of thousands of years before Europeans arrived in the 1600s. But no, Connor's tradition mysteriously begins right after white colonization and excludes everything before it. How convenient. It's like declaring that you're the traditional owner of a household because you recently squatted there. So it's not even a legitimate appeal to tradition, revealing that tradition isn't the point. It never was. White dominance is the point.
How does the United States... I mean, we've gone so off topic, but how does the United States look like under you? Sorry, what's your name?
My name is, my name's Connor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Took a little bit of a doubt there.
Oh, well, I use a pseudonym online,
fair enough,
but fair enough.
More excellent work from Mehdi, forcing Connor to literally put his name on these beliefs. And it's gratifying to see him stumble for a bit. He's immediately brave enough to advocate for autocracy and white nationalism, but not brave enough to immediately reveal his real name.
My name's Connor.
The admission about using a pseudonym online says everything.
I use a pseudonym online,
fair enough,
but fair enough.
He's a keyboard warrior who talks tough behind anonymity, but gets, a little nervous under the spotlight. And if he says all that we've seen and we're gonna see comfortably on camera, just imagine what he's posting when nobody knows who he is.
How would Connor's America look? What would it look like?
Well, quite frankly, I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here.
Notice where Connor's mind goes first. Not the governance structures, not the policies, not the institutions, straight to deportation. So when asked to describe his ideal America, his immediate thought is about who to remove.
I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here.
That is not a government. That's an ethnic cleansing operation wrapped in the stars and stripes.
We would deport people who shouldn't be here.
I didn't ask about deporting. What does the government look like?
What does the government look like?
Yeah.
I would say, quite frankly, it's under a sort of benevolent leader such as
Where does he
Franco.
come from?
I'm sorry, Franco. Did he really just say Franco? Just let that sink in for a second. Francisco Franco, the dictator who killed between 100 and 200,000 people during and after the Spanish Civil War, who operated up to 300 concentration camps, who used slave labor and stole children from Republican families, who maintained power through systematic torture and execution for 36 years. That Franco. That's Connor's benevolent leader.
Sort of benevolent leaders such as
Where does he
Franco.
come from?
This is euphemism at its most grotesque, using soft language to sanitize atrocity. Connor may as well be calling the Holocaust population management. Franco wasn't benevolent. He was a mass murderer who turned Spain into a police state. But Connor needs to make fascism sound palatable, so he slaps benevolent in front of leader, and then hopes that nobody understands their history.
It's under a sort of benevolent leader such as
Where does he
Franco.
come from?
It could be a kind of aristocratic class, could be someone
Who picks the autocrat?
Frankly, the people. I mean, we could hold a vote on it. Kings
So
were
isn't
paid.
that democracy?
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that stage.
And then no more votes afterwards.
Absolutely.
The absolutely reveals the goal. Democracy as a suicide pact, exploiting the system to destroy it.
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that stage.
And then no more votes afterwards.
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. And if that autocrat kills you and your family, you're fine with that?
Well, I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills, because that's the whole thing.
And there it is, the eternal delusion of every authoritarian supporter. I won't be in the group that gets purged.
I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills.
Except history has a different story to tell. Stalin purged the old Bolsheviks who helped him rise to power. Hitler eliminated the SA leadership in the Night of the Long Knives, the very brown shirts who fought for him in the streets. Franco executed Falangist leaders who helped him win the Civil War. Mao's Cultural Revolution devoured the original Communist Party members who marched with him. The pattern is universal. Autocrats eat their own. First their enemies, then the allies who know too much, then anyone who might be a threat, then anyone who looks at them wrong. Connor thinks that he'll be safe because he's on the right side.
I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills.
But autocrats don't have friends, only temporary tools.
How do you know?
Carl Schmitt
Autocrats tend to kill everyone,
Carl
even their own
Schmitt
supporters.
makes this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right?
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
That's right. Connor is citing a Nazi theorist as an intellectual authority. This is Carl Schmitt, the Nazi Party's crown jurist who provided the legal framework for Hitler's dictatorship. And do you know what? This is, Carl Schmitt got purged. Schmitt joined the Nazi Party in 1933, wrote their legal justifications, and just 3 years later, the SS was investigating him, and he had lost his party positions. Yeah, the man who theorized the friend-enemy distinction became an enemy himself. Connor's literally quoting someone who became a victim to his own ideas.
Carl Schmitt makes this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right?
Carl Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Notice the deflection. Connor reframes the question about Nazi ideology into an issue of labeling.
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi.
Well, Mehdi certainly caught it. It's a strawman fallacy, when someone misrepresents an opponent's position to make it easier to attack. You see, Mehdi asked a clear question. Is he fine with the Nazis? As in, is he okay with supporting a genocidal and totalitarian state?
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
But Connor responded about being called a Nazi, making himself a victim of labeling rather than answering about the actual Nazi ideology.
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that.
This is how fascist cowards have operated for decades. They know Nazi ideology is indefensible, so they smuggle it in through dog whistles, coded language that signals extremist views to those who know while sounding innocuous to outsiders. Think of phrases like globalist elites, which to most people just sounds like wealthy international figures, but to an extremist audience, it is an anti-Semitic stand-in. That way, when challenged, because they didn't actually say the words, they can pivot to playing victim about labels.
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that.
You're just calling everyone Nazis when they're literally endorsing Nazi theorists.
Carl Schmitt makes this point very well in his work.
Make no mistake, Connor is misrepresenting a question about supporting mass murder as mere name-calling. But it's the brazenness of it all that's truly chilling.
Yeah, absolutely, I don't care.
There's no attempt to contextualize or distance from Nazi association. None.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that.
Mehdi refuses to play the label game, keeping focus on ideology rather than names.
I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
And Connor's only critique of the Nazis is that they prosecuted the church a little bit.
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that.
The Nazi regime arrested thousands of priests, with over 2,700 clergy imprisoned in Dachau alone. But notice what Connor doesn't mention: the murder of 6 million Jews, the 220 to 500,000 Roma killed, at least 70,000 disabled Germans euthanized, millions of Soviet citizens slaughtered. Yeah, his sole concern is that the church faced persecution. The Holocaust and all of its victims, not worth mentioning. That silence tells you everything about his moral priorities.
They persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that, but...
What about the persecution of the Jews?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
Oh, how convenient. When asked directly about the Holocaust, Connor suddenly discovers the most pathetic response possible.
I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
Dignity being assaulted. Yeah, that's one way to describe the systematic murder of 6 million Jews. It's like describing a nuclear bomb as a loud noise. Notice what he's doing here. He won't say Holocaust. He won't say genocide. He won't even say Jews, just this bloodless, bureaucratic phrase that could apply to literally anything. And then he hides behind being Catholic, as if that's some kind of moral shield.
I'm a Catholic.
Except there's a small problem with this minimization. The Catholic Church has been unequivocal about the Holocaust. Vatican II explicitly condemned anti-Semitism. Pope John Paul II called it an indelible stain on the century. Pope Francis declared to deny the Holocaust is madness. But somehow, Connor's sitting here giving us corporate HR speak about human dignity instead of the clear moral condemnation that his own church demands. Remember, moments ago, his only beef with the Nazis is that they persecuted the church a little bit.
They persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that.
Not the Holocaust, not the millions dead, just that they were rude to Catholics. Now, suddenly, he's Mr. Universal Human Dignity. Please.
I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But Mehdi's not letting him off with corporate speak.
But you don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution.
It's almost surreal to watch someone refuse Mehdi's moral invitation to condemn the Nazis. You know, let's allow what Connor just said to marinate for just a moment. The systematic murder of 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children, entire communities wiped off the map, industrial killing factories at Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, and Sobibor, reduced to a little bit of persecution.
A little bit of persecution.
This is minimization at its most repulsive, a rhetorical technique where someone acknowledges a serious event or fact while stripping it of its real significance or impact. Over 33,000 Jews shot at Babi Yar in 2 days. The Einsatzgruppen murdering over 1 million more. Just a spot of bother, really. Nothing to get worked up about. By the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's own definition, this constitutes Holocaust denial, but Connor delivers it with the same casual tone as describing a parking ticket.
I think that there was a little bit of persecution
We
and stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
bad,
this show
but
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
hey, what can I say?
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
He says this as if minimizing genocide is just a perky personality trait. Hey, what can I say?
Hey, what can I say?
When Mehdi hands him the fascist label on a silver platter, Connor grabs it without hesitation. Yes, I am. No qualifications, just pure acceptance. This provocation as brand strategy leverages shock value to shift the Overton window, the range of ideas considered acceptable in public discourse. The smiles and laughter are part of the normalization strategy.
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am. Absolutely.
I'm just checking who's clapping.
Indeed, the audience laughs and applauds, because apparently this is entertainment now. Remember, Jubilee's format lets people vote out poor performers, but Connor is still there. That tells you everything that you need to know about this crowd and what they consider acceptable discourse. They're not horrified by extremism, they are enjoying the show.
I'm just checking who's clapping just to get my set of where everyone is on this.
Because
you know that millions of people are going to be watching you on YouTube and checking out who the fascists and the Nazis are.
I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever.
No, clearly you're not.
During
During
the pre-war period, prior to World War II, it was only those parties that properly enacted the people's will. That's why they won. The conservatives were fat cats, they were aristocrats, they didn't care.
Ah yes, fascists. Those famous champions of democracy. What a charming way to describe paramilitary violence, rigged elections, and the suppression of opposition parties. The historical whiplashing is so brazen that it would make the Nazi propaganda ministers weep with envy. And the populist mythology is simply perfect. Fascists as anti-establishment heroes fighting against fat cat aristocrats.
The conservatives were fat cats, they were aristocrats, they didn't care.
Except, of course, the fascist movements were bankrolled by those exact same industrialists and conservative elites who were terrified of socialist movements. It's the post hoc fallacy in historical drag, when someone assumes that because one event followed another, the first must have caused the second. Fascists won, therefore they must have represented the people's will.
It was only those parties that properly enacted the people's will. That's why they won.
Never mind the economic collapse, the industrial failure, and street violence that actually paved their way.
Are you in favor of killing people who aren't like you?
Quite frankly, I'm not.
You mentioned Franco earlier. Franco killed a lot of innocent people.
It's almost a shame that Mehdi cut him off, but he knew exactly what he was doing. By stepping in, he can get Connor to redefine the question and draw out a clearer articulation of the position. Human rights aren't universal in Connor's world. They are conditional, subject to having the right values, the correct skin color. How very Catholic of him. But then comes the Franco fanfiction in full bloom.
You mentioned Franco earlier. Franco killed a lot of innocent people.
Oh, well, he killed communists. He killed people who raped nuns and killed priests.
Right. Of course political affiliation is grounds for execution.
Well, he killed communists.
Franco's White Terror killed hundreds of thousands of people, many guilty of nothing more than voting for the wrong party or supporting a robust welfare state. Or in Connor's framing, communists.
Well, he killed communists.
He takes what might be considered the worst possible crimes and smears entire political categories with them, using lurid imagery to provide moral cover for political executions without context or evidence.
Well, he killed communists. He killed people who raped nuns and killed priests.
What about children who he killed and women who he killed?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic,
He was a Catholic dude. Well, that settles it then, doesn't it? Everyone knows that Catholics are physically incapable of violence. It's right there in canon law, probably. Good game. Connor's upholding religious identity as an automatic moral shield, and that, my friends, is one hell of a non sequitur, when a conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. It's like arguing that someone can't possibly commit theft because they own a Bible. Religious self-description says nothing about regime atrocities. The 30 Years' War saw Catholic armies cheerfully sacking cities and slaughtering 20,000 Protestant civilians at Magdeburg. And just to be clear, after burning, looting, and raping, they celebrated Mass among the rubble and the dead the following day. Or we can look at more familiar events. The Spanish Inquisition tortured and executed thousands in the name of Catholic purity. Croatia's Catholic Ustasi committed mass killings of Orthodox Christians and Jews with clergy blessing. But sure, slap a religious label on someone and they become Gandhi.
He was Catholic.
And what about Connor's claim that Franco never killed women or children?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children.
Absolute garbage. Guernica's terror bombing killed hundreds of civilians, including women and children. The Malaga-Almeria road massacre saw thousands of fleeing families gunned down. The Badajoz massacre executed thousands of civilians by firing squad. Las Treche Rosas, 13 young women, some still teenagers, executed by Franco's authorities in Madrid for the wicked crime of opposing fascism.
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic,
He only killed.
You've got to admire the sheer confidence in the dismissal, delivered like Mehdi had just claimed that Franco was secretly a Muslim. This is gaslighting, when someone manipulates you into doubting your own perception of reality. An example would be showing someone a photograph of a sunny day while insisting that it's raining. When confronted with inconvenient facts, act like the other person is delusional.
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children.
Make them doubt documented history and facts through sheer audacity. It is remarkably effective when your audience wants to believe the lie.
What about children who he killed and women who he killed?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic,
He only killed combatants, is that what you're claiming?
Yeah, he only killed combatants.
Never killed any innocent people.
The white terror was only punishing those people who did acts of terrorism. And again, are you supporting like being innocent women? Nuns, dude.
The historical revisionism continues. Connor can't help but attempt to sanitize reality. Franco's regime tortured, disappeared, and murdered people for terrorism, like teaching literacy or distributing Republican newspapers. Just being politically left qualified as violent extremism. And then came the classic false dilemma.
Are you supporting like raping innocent women? Nuns, dude.
What exquisite nonsense. If you oppose mass political executions, then you must love sexual violence.
Nuns, dude.
At this point, it's clear that Connor would probably argue that anyone who criticizes police brutality secretly wants bank robberies. While anti-clerical violence did occur during the Spanish Civil War, Francoists turned isolated incidents into propaganda gold to justify wholesale slaughter of Republicans. And 80 years later, Connor's still swallowing the bait.
Nuns, dude. Killing priests? I mean, priests don't brandish guns and kill people.
You just refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
This is a smart pivot from Mehdi. Connor is trying to force him to justify the killing of nuns and priests, a rhetorical trap that would put Mehdi on the defensive. Instead, though, Mehdi refuses to play, flipping the discourse back to Connor's refusal to condemn the Nazis.
You just refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
By doing so, he justifies his disagreement from Connor's framing and forces Connor to defend his own indefensible position rather than putting himself in the dock. It's a subtle but brilliant move.
I quite frankly don't care what you think about me. If I'm a Nazi and being a Nazi
is mutual,
if being a Nazi means upholding human dignity, because I even believe in your dignity. I don't in a state that I was running, I wouldn't want to hurt you or anything like that.
That is an incredible attempt to rehabilitate the Nazis. If being a Nazi means upholding human dignity, he said that. He meant that.
If being a Nazi means upholding human dignity.
So I guess next week we're going to see a serial killer on Jubilee who says that if being a serial killer means loving life. This is historical inversion so shameless that it would make Orwell dizzy. Nazism was literally built on the destruction of human dignity for millions, but Connor wants to rebrand it as a humanitarian movement.
I even believe in your dignity. I don't in a state that I was running, I wouldn't want to hurt you or anything like that.
The condescending finish is particularly rich coming from someone who spent the entire conversation denying dignity to political opponents, non-whites, and anyone outside of his chosen group.
I even believe in your dignity.
That even does all of the work, revealing exactly how much he values Mehdi's humanity.
I wouldn't want to hurt you or anything like that, but quite frankly,
I don't debate fascists.
Okay. So do you concede then? I mean, why?
Do I concede you're a fascist who won't condemn the Nazis?
Yeah.
Yes, I concede that.
Okay, great.
Connor pulls an incredibly bad faith maneuver here, deliberately twisting Mehdi's moral refusal into some kind of intellectual surrender. It's a rhetorical trap designed to turn principled disagreement into apparent defeat. He's claiming victory because Mehdi won't swim in pig shit with him.
So do you concede then?
And you can see that Mehdi's done. He's not engaging with the debate format anymore. He's documenting what's happening. This is exactly why debating fascists is pointless. They don't use debate to find truth. they use it to destroy the institution of debate itself.
So I mean, what are we doing here? Because I mean, you just seem
know
offended.
what you're doing here,
you
to be
just seem offended, to be quite frankly.
Once again, Connor's go-to move is to paint his opponent as merely being offended, as if it's all about hurt feelings, rather than a principled rejection of fascism and Holocaust minimization. It is a lazy way to dodge the moral argument, reduce it to emotion, strip it of substance, and pretend there's no deeper reasoning behind the outrage.
You
know what you're doing here,
You
to be
just seem offended, to be quite frankly. Like,
I'm offended by people who can't condemn the Nazis. Yes, I am.
okay. Well, I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really
Against
care
the
about
Jews?
being. Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi.
Sure.
Okay, so the tone police have arrived. Because in Connor's world, moral outrage at Holocaust minimization isn't a principled stand, it's just oversensitivity. Reduce it to an emotional overreaction, and suddenly you're not confronting fascism, you're just a snowflake. This is another page from the extremist playbook. When confronted with justified anger at your extremism, ignore any actual arguments or rebuttals, and instead act like the other person is merely being unreasonable for having feelings about genocide.
I'm offended by people who can't condemn the Nazis. Yes, I am.
Now, before we move on, it's worth noting that Mehdi pulled another really smart move here, catching Connor's token "I condemn all evils" and instantly pinning him to "against the Jews."
I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really
Against
care
the
about
Jews?
being.
This strips away any room for evasive moral posturing. It's effective because it forces Connor to confront the specific atrocity he's been minimizing,
There was a little bit of persecution.
rather than hiding behind a safe, diluted generalization.
Really
Against
care
the
about
Jews?
being. Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi.
sure.
And really note what Connor said here. When finally cornered, he offered the most reluctant, performative concession in debate history. Yeah, sure. Delivered with all the enthusiasm of someone agreeing to eat vegetables.
Yeah, sure.
Then immediately followed by his real agenda. He doesn't care about being associated with Nazis.
I don't care about being called a Nazi.
The forced condemnation was just theatre. The indifference is genuine.
I don't care about being called a Nazi
sure.
is the whole thing.
I never called you a
I
Nazi.
care
You
about
called
doing
yourself
the right
a Nazi,
thing.
a fascist, and a General Franco
Well,
supporter.
yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly.
Oh, we've officially entered teenage edgelord TikTok territory. This is how Connor describes a dictator who executed 50,000 people after winning the Spanish Civil War, stole 300,000 babies from Republican parties, and built monuments using slave labor from political prisoners. This is all super cool, apparently.
I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly.
But the tonal shift is almost as disturbing as the content. By reducing atrocities to fanboy gushing, Connor makes extremism sound harmless, unserious, just another lifestyle choice. And it is all deliberate. He wants to normalize fascism, to reposition the Overton window.
He was so super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole
And
thing...
you don't believe in democracy.
I don't believe in
What
democracy.
are you doing here at a televised debate?
Because,
This is democracy. I want to debate and disagreement.
Because it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean
This is
upholding
great.
free speech after we win.
And there's the entire game plan laid bare. It is a means to support an end. Democracy as a suicide weapon, free speech as a temporary tool. Use the system's tolerance to build intolerance. Exploit the platform to advocate destroying the platform.
The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want.
The casual honesty is refreshing. No pretense about principles or consistency, just pure instrumental calculation. They use democracy to install autocracy, exploit free speech to justify censorship, and tell you exactly what they're doing because they're confident that you can't stop them.
But it doesn't mean
This is
upholding
great.
free speech after we win.
Snake tactics delivered with a smile.
The only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
The
It's
whole
great.
reason I
Say the
mentioned
quiet part loud.
the
Keep saying
whole
it.
Mehdi wants to make sure that the world watching recognizes what's being said, because, like so many that fight fascism, he's so used to his opponents never actually saying the quiet part out loud. I'd wager there's a part of him that's impressed with Connor. Not in a positive sense, of course, more in a kind of stupid sense, but still.
Say the quiet part loud. Keep saying it.
And speaking of saying the quiet part out loud, notice who stayed quiet about this whole scenario, this whole Connor thing. The prominent conservative voices, so often framed as the reasonable counterweight to the far right, haven't spoken out about Connor's arguments at all. They haven't given it airtime, haven't pushed back, haven't even treated it as worthy of debate. Instead, they keep hammering away at their pet cultural war topics: trans bathrooms, book bans, not looking into the Epstein files.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being.
That silence speaks volumes. Their priorities are crystal clear. They don't include challenging this kind of extremism.
The only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
The whole reason I mentioned
quiet part loud.
The
Keep saying
whole
it.
reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy distinction.
Past him because of the Nazi
even
point.
liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy.
This is rich, and it's a false equivalence fallacy. When someone compares two things as if they're equal despite having significant and relevant differences. An example would be saying that surgeons and serial killers are basically the same because they both use knives on people. In Connor's case, both democratic governance and fascist persecution involve punishment, so they must both be identical, right?
Even liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy.
Except there's a critical difference. In democracy, punishment means facing legal consequences within a system that includes due process, constitutional protections, the right to appeal, and the chance to re-enter public life. In a fascist system, punishment means being dragged from your home in the middle of the night, executed without trial, or disappeared into a concentration camp. One is the rule of law, the other is the absence of law. When Democrats punish their enemies, those enemies can still run for office in the next election. When fascists punish their enemies, those enemies don't see another sunrise.
The whole reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy distinction.
Past him because of the Nazi
liberal.
And this is where Connor's idol, Carl Schmitt, comes in. The friend-enemy distinction that Connor and Schmitt promote is the idea that politics is fundamentally about destroying your opponents, not governing alongside them. Pretty rich coming from someone who keeps invoking Catholicism, right? It seems that love thy neighbour didn't make it into Connor's version of the faith.
But I'm a Catholic.
American democracy was explicitly designed to reject this mindset. Peaceful transitions, protection of minority rights, loyal opposition, the entire constitutional framework exists because the founding fathers understood that permanent friend-enemy warfare destroys nations. But in Connor's telling, if everyone's really out for blood, the only rational response is to drop the pretense and go for the jugular.
And they're willing to punish their enemy.
It's another common authoritarian move. Claim that everyone else is vicious just like you are, so that your actual viciousness can become justified.
Even liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy. And so I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
We've just witnessed Connor's persecution complex weaponized for aggression. If you're going to punish me. Notice the hypothetical if. He's conjuring an imagined future in which he's the victim, then using it to justify very real, very violent, premeditated retaliation.
I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me.
This flips the role of victim and perpetrator with ruthless efficiency. Suddenly, Connor isn't openly advocating for autocracy and ethnic cleansing. He's the supposed innocent, forced to defend himself against a liberal tyranny that exists only in his head.
I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me.
And when he says punish you, he's not talking about persecuting genuine wrongdoers. He means entire categories of people whose only crime is disagreeing with him.
Just that simple.
I'm not sure what you want to say.
And the audience applauds. Again, because apparently threatening political revenge against hypothetical future persecution is peak entertainment for this crowd. It really is terrifying to watch.
I'm not sure what you want to say.
Hey, it is what it is.
And there's the nihilistic shrug to cap it all off. Having laid out his entire fascist roadmap, autocracy, ethnic hierarchy, political revenge, Connor retreats into empty fatalism. No defense for his position, no engagement with criticism, just a thought-terminating cliche that kills meaningful discussion.
Hey, it is what it is.
Mission accomplished. The extremist has said his piece, shifted the Overton window, and walked away with a smile. In some cases, this is how it happens. Not with dramatic coups, but with applause from the people promising to end democracy.
It is what it is.
All right. Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
I can't say the same, but thank you.
Anyone else feeling whiplash with the return to polite society? It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. As if the last few minutes of autocracy advocacy and Holocaust minimization were just friendly disagreement about tax policy. This is the banality of evil, extremism wrapped in social convention, fascism delivered with a handshake.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Most people would reflexively return the courtesy. Social conditioning runs deep. When someone says pleasure to meet you, you're supposed to smile back, but Mehdi refuses to play along. He cuts through the false civility with moral clarity.
I can't say the same, but thank you.
There will be no pleasantries with people who minimize genocide. Some lines shouldn't be crossed, even for politeness. Alright, so that was intense. What we just witnessed wasn't a debate that went off the rails. It was a young conservative walking onto an international debate space and proudly declaring himself a fascist, and getting applauded for it.
I think you could say, I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
This is what Mehdi meant when he said that the only good thing about this fascist moment that we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
The whole reason I mentioned
the quiet part loud, keep saying it.
Connor didn't slip up. He came prepared to advocate for autocracy, minimize the Holocaust, and explain exactly his plans to use democracy to destroy democracy. He laid out the entire roadmap. Exploit democratic processes to install permanent autocracy.
We want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean upholding free speech after we win.
Enforce white demographic dominance.
I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white, and should stay that way.
Eliminate blasphemy and dissent.
I think things like blasphemy shouldn't be allowed per the First Amendment.
Model governance on fascist dictators.
I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly.
He said it all out loud with a smile. 2 cheers. The mask didn't slip. He had long discarded it before even turning up. And this raises the question that everyone seems to be asking. Should we even platform people like Connor? Some argue that this is exactly what shifts the Overton window. That by putting fascists on stage, we normalize their views, making them seem like just another legitimate position in the marketplace of ideas. But others say that this exposure is precisely what we need. For years, when people warned about rising fascism, they were dismissed as alarmist, crying wolf, being hyperbolic. Well, here's your wolf, baring his teeth proudly, explaining his plans to devour democracy while the audience claps. No more plausible deniability, no more you're overreacting. The wolf isn't at the door, it's on the stage with a microphone and he's getting fan mail. In fact, after this aired, Connor claimed that he was fired from his job for his views.
You are in some serious trouble in your personal life over this, am I right?
That is correct.
What happened?
Unfortunately, I lost my job as a result, and no one really is to blame for that. It's just the culture that kind of exists.
Yeah, the self-declared fascist who wants to end free speech became a martyr for free speech.
We told you we wanted you to make a give, send, go, right? That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create a fundraiser to try to raise some money because you got fired for your very legal political beliefs.
Yet, within days, he raised over $35,000 in donations from supporters. It turns out that admitting that you want to destroy democracy is surprisingly lucrative in the attention economy.
So you don't believe in democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
The bottom line is this. When someone tells you that they're a fascist, believe them. When they outline their plans to end democracy, take them seriously.
And then no more votes afterwards.
Absolutely.
When they minimize genocide as a little bit of persecution, understand that you're not dealing with a political opponent. You're dealing with someone who rejects the basic premise of shared humanity. Connor came to normalize the unthinkable, and judging by the applause, he succeeded. They're saying the quiet part out loud because they think they've already won. Thank you again for watching, and a big thank you to our sponsor, Private Internet Access. Go to piavpn.com/rationalityrules to get 83% off private internet access with 4 months free.